why I put that record slide in there. And so anyway, these sessions such as this roundtable, they're Zoom based, and they're often posted on public media platforms such as YouTube. If you do not wish to have your picture display in public view, you can participate with your video turned on. Otherwise, your participation serves as content to your picture being posted. Hey, we appreciate you guys, and thanks for all that you do for the state. For those of you keep living vicariously through my travels, I went to the Ranger game the other night, and I discovered that the Rangers can lose indoors or outdoors because they just got pummeled by the Orioles. It was like watching grass grow, the dullest thing I've ever seen for a 6-1 loss. But it's good to know the Rangers are consistent no matter what their stadium looks like. Also today on August 4th, we had several birthdays. Louis Armstrong, President Obama was born on August 4th, pitcher Roger Clemens, news anchor Brett Baer, and the great John Riggins that was originally drafted by the Jets. And as John Riggins worked with the Redskins to win championships, and boy, that really hurts me to say, that's me down in the bottom right-hand corner. That's the way these CTAT roundtable discussions are. Everybody works together to learn and build championship programs, and that's what these roundtables are all about. Everybody's working together. As far as some updates, of course, our typical programming that we do, we have a slide in here a little bit, but we're beginning to build the next gen administrators for professionals with less than 3 years. We have a group that meets monthly on the first Thursday of every month at 1:30 p.m. And I'll put a link to registration in a minute when we get to the slide. Also, these monthly roundtables, we just had our professional conference, and we're beginning to schedule for district program evaluation. So if you want a program evaluation, most people pay for those out of their 6,200 Perkins funds. Shoot me an email and I'll get you a quote and get you the specifics on what we do with the program evaluations. Mark at CTAT.org. Just send me an email and we'll get you started, get you some more information if you need that. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. The last time Lindsay looked, we were right at 1,000, nearly 1,000. I think we get a poster or something if we get 1,000 subscribers. So if you think about it, go on there and click the subscribe, and every time we post something on YouTube, it'll ding your computer. And don't forget that we have our discussion board. One of the best uses for this, and we've seen, is people using this to find curriculum for different courses, but you can use it for anything. People post and you can get answers to questions and thoughts and just opinions. So, you know, what are you doing at your districts for X? So just post that on the post and you'll be in good shape. If you haven't yet, make sure that you go to the TEA CTE website and sign up for their CTE newsletters, because that's when all the updates relating to career and technical education in the state that's put out by TEA will come through that. Also, just a big super thank you for the summer 22 session. You nailed your presentations. They were fabulous. I had the opportunity to kind of go throughout the rooms and sample, and the presentations were just incredible, as they always are. But it seems to me like the presentations are getting better every year. We had a great winter conference and then the summer too. And I went through there and there were several of the presentations where I found myself taking pictures with my phone to catch certain slides. They were just incredible. I wish I could identify every one of you, but you guys all did terrific, and we really appreciate you for your presentations. It's your presentations that make the conference work, and we really appreciate that, and well done. Also, we'd like to thank ICEV for hosting another social. You can see that everybody was there, had a pretty good time, had some hors d'oeuvres, got to share and network. Robin and them, they brought some animals out. They had a donkey and a couple of goats and a longhorn, and that was such a treat for the whole group. And there's so many ex-ag teachers in the group. A couple of them decided they just try to ride the donkey, and so that was one thing. And as usual, some people get out of hand, and you can see a few of them got bucked off. A couple of them couple of people tried to tie the goats down, but overall it was very terrific. Everyone had a good time. Thank you to ICB for the social, and the CTAT, the Leadership Conference in 2023 will be in Galveston from January 30th to February 1st. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And we look forward to seeing you in Galveston at Winter Conference. And it's never too early to start thinking about presentations. So remember, if you did a presentation at the summer conference, there were 600 people there and only 25 or so saw your presentation. So don't feel bad about presenting it again. You might need to present it 2 or 3 times to make sure that the number of people who want to see it get to see it. So be prepared, work up some new presentations. If you had a popular one at summer, do it again in the winter. We want your presentations and get geared up for winter conference in Galveston. There's a few updates from the SBOE. Every time that they come in and they move one of the teachers from chapter 130 to chapter 127, they come in with a repeal of the old teachers. And of course, that's in an update that was on the CTAT chat and from the SBOE website. Also in Proclamation 2024, TEA is looking for volunteers to review textbook materials. And as you can see, there are several career and technical education courses up, as well as tech apps, which now fall under CTE on the secondary level, and science, which we have some CTE courses count for science. So if you're really interested in getting involved at the state level, Proclamation 2024 may be the place for you to really dip your toe in and make a difference on reviewing some of these materials. Also, a question came up through the Connect CTAT, and people were looking for classroom management training. If you have district, if you put teachers on a district permit, then they have to have that classroom management training before they're supposed to start teaching the class, actually. And Region 13 popped up on the CTAT Connect CTAT, and I thought, well, I'd put that in there probably because there's several of you looking for that information. It's great stuff, and there's the registration link, and of course, Region 13 sponsors that. I know there is a fee if you're not in Region 13, but you might contact them and see what the fee is if you're in Region 13. Also, and I will post this link in the chat once we finish, but we're starting Next Gen Administrators Cohort 3. And this has been one of the most successful things. This has been driven by the board of directors. 2 years ago came in and said, hey, we're getting so many people that are being hired as specialists and coordinators, and they have less than 3 years experience and they need training. And so the Next Gen was created. We meet with the Next Gen administrators on the first Thursday of every month at 1:30. We meet for an hour. That is usually 20 to 30 minutes of training, and then another 30 minutes or so of networking and answering questions. And I'm telling you, these Next Gen people are incredible. So if you want to be with a group of quality administrators and people that are on the move, this is a good group to be involved with. And I'll put that registration link in the chat bar. And also you can find it on the CTAT.org website under Learn. Also, the CTAT is hosting 2 joint workshops with TASBO. And at the winter conference, Robin met with the area presidents. And the area presidents had a lot of great ideas as far as trainings that were needed. And one of the trainings was that the business officials and the business officers need to be trained with the CTE administrators on what constitutes CTE spending, you know, what's really 55%, what's direct cost and what's indirect cost, you know, what really makes up that. So when you start exploring that, there's a lot of gray area in terms of spending and financial. And so each district kind of does things a little bit different with the business office. And so Robin got with the board, and then of course the board signed off. You know, they were eager to get it, and then teamed up with TASBO, and we're hosting 3 TASBO CTAT joint workshops. So the business officer and the CTE administrator will go to the workshop together, and they will hear the same thing the same way at the same time. This is the first time I ever remember this being done. And you can thank your area presidents for coming up with this idea. And the first one will be September 27th in Austin. The second one will be November 1st in Houston. And then the third one will be November 29th in Denton. You can go to any of the 3, and the link to register for these workshops, of course, we've sent it out 2 or 3 times, and we'll send it out more, but it's also on the CTAT.org website on Learn. TEA came in and did a presentation, and they were at the end of the conference on Thursday, and they introduced us to 2 new team members. Erica Bates is working with education and training, human services, and hospitality. Erica was a coordinator at Waxahachie. She is outstanding, and if you haven't met her, when we're at the next conference, introduce yourself to her. She's very knowledgeable, and she's on top of the game, and she'll be great. In health science and transportation and logistics, Juanita Soto. She was at Austin ISD and worked very closely with the health science program there. She is also terrific. And of course, you know, health science is one of our most complex programs. And I'm glad that Juanita was able to move over from Austin ISD to TEA, because we're lucky that she moved into that spot. There's all of the TEA folks. And of course, this is available on the website. And if you need this slide presentation, just shoot me an email and I'll send it to you. But of course, Miss Kilgore is at the top there. And then Erica, Jennifer Bullock, Dale Fowler, Dr. Freeman, Les Hudson, Steve Smith, I haven't met yet, but he works in labor market analysis. But I will say this about our new TEA staff is they show up to the conferences, they engage with members, and they listen for input. And that's very important, because that hasn't, over my 21 years, that's not the case in all 21. I think really the great turnaround started when Ryan was there, and he really started turning around the communications piece, and Miss Kilgore's really done a good job on continuing that. And she's offered to meet with Robin and I once a month. Oh, but before I get to that, so one of the other things that was in the TEA update on Thursday was that districts will now have to report IBCs that were earned, passed, and attempted. So if a student attempts an IBC, it has to be reported. If a student passes an IBC, it has to be reported and earned. For example, what's the difference in passing and earning? Well, a student may pass both parts of the cosmetology exam, but never apply for their license. So they pass the exams, but they never earn the license because they never worked through the process of actually applying to TDLR and getting the permit. So you can see the differences when they actually receive the certification versus just passing the test. So this is a new reporting requirement that districts will be accountable for. I'm sure that's going to be in the student information management system, because one of the things that Ms. Kilgore said they were collecting this is they want to identify exemplary programs. Who's got a 95% passing rate out there that we can send other districts to talk to? So that'll be useful data, but it is something you'll have to report. So as you're doing your industry-based certification work this year, make sure that you're collecting all 3 data points: earned, pass, and attempted. Also, in talking to Ms. Kilgore this morning, she wanted to relay these, is that the IBC list and the new accountability requirements will likely be announced on the next commissioner's call to the superintendents, which now is scheduled for August 18th, 2022. And I think there's several of you guys that listen in on those superintendents calls, and they're always recorded and posted on the website. But that's when we expect to get the IBC list and the new accountability requirements, August 18th, 2022. She said that there will for sure be a sunsetting policy in some form, at least a year, maybe two. And by sunsetting, what that means is that the old IBC list will count for at least 1 year, possibly two, and will go along with the new IBC list. And so that'll give local education agencies, districts, and vendors a chance to adapt to the new certifications. And in the CCMR accountability, that will also be phased in. We didn't get any specifics, and no one can really share those until the commissioner announces those. So we won't know anything until August 18th at the quickest, unless there's some bootleg copies get out. So if somebody gets a bootleg copy, send it to me on the QT. Also, there's something new that we're going to initiate during the roundtables. If you have a question that you would like to pass on to TEA at some point, probably near the end of the discussion period, we'll stop and say, hey, what questions do you have for TEA? I will copy those questions down, and then I will send those off to Ms. Kilgore, and she'll farm them out. And hopefully we'll get answers to those questions from TEA within a week of the roundtable. So we really appreciate them being open and transparent and willing to help disseminate information to the members. And of course, your reimbursement reports are available on TIL. We talked about that last time. And Robin, do you mind talking about the legislative task force?
Well, now, Mark, you know, there are 3 task forces. I know,
yes.
You know, everybody wants to be on bylaws, so we're just going to have to try and fend those people off. But, you know, so we're gearing up for the 80th Texas legislature, and we want our president named a task force for bylaws, obviously, legislative task force, and also teacher engagement task force. And so this QR code takes you to a Google form. If you are interested in serving on one of those committees, including the legislative task force, you can fill out this Google form to let us know. And I will tell you, if we have really just everybody scrambling to be on a task force, we are actually going to turn to your area president and ask them to pick 2 people from each area to serve on the committee. So if you do not know who your area president is, and you want to say, hey, you need to reach out and tell them if you want to be on one of those task forces to pick you. So I encourage you to do that. I just put a link in the chat that goes to the CTAT webpage that lists who all the area presidents are. If you don't know who your area president is, just email me. I will hook you up. But our legislative task force, what we're going to do is meet at least 2 or 3 times. We're going to send out a Google form, which I can actually give you guys early since you guys show up to this meeting and you're awesome. It's a CTAT's grassroots legislative policy survey. If you have policy issues that you want this task force to consider putting on our agenda for the upcoming session, tell your area president, fill out this form, email us directly, mention it here in Roundtable. Just reach out any way you can. We are always available for you, and we want to hear if you've got any policy recommendations or issues that we can help with at the state level. And so let me put a link to in the chat. This is the CTAT Grassroots Legislative Policy Survey. And you can fill that out no matter what. As many people from an area, doesn't matter. We want to hear from you. And then to sign up for those task forces, and I'll just go ahead and put it in the chat since we save it too, but that QR code will take you there. This is the task force interest form. And like I said, you need to go lobby your area president to get selected. So if you have any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer them, and appreciate you all for helping us develop our legislative policy initiatives.
You guys remember, when you get on that task force, you're playing with live rounds. So if you recommend something and have sound reasoning, those things get enacted into law. So do your homework and come with great stuff. Okay, and then of course there's Homer, the end is near, and we're going to exit now back into the gallery view. And open it up for any discussion. Anyone have any comments on the legislative task forces?
Mark, I don't have a comment on that, but I do have a question about that joint conference that you're doing with TASBO. I tried to register on the link and it looks like all of the registration is going through TASBO. So does that mean we have to create an account with them in order for us to register?
That's probably a better Robin question. TASBO is handling all of the logistics. So Robin, that's a good question. They don't have to
It
be
is a good
TASBO.
question. No, I don't think you don't have to be a member of TASBO or CTAT to register for it, really. And I'm just going to go out on a limb here and guess because I'm not really sure. But whenever anyone comes to register for an event for CTAT, if they don't already have a profile, they have to create one.
Okay.
And so that might be for. No, it doesn't.
Just a profile. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But if you start getting their emails and you're on their list, I didn't do it.
Miss Hatton said you had to make an account. She's already registered. So thank you, Miss Hatton.
Thank you.
Oh, and we got a question from Miss Williams. The task forces will meet virtually because we'll have hopefully 2 folks from each of our areas on serving on those. So yeah, virtually. And what I'll do is I'll do a doodle to see when most folks are available to meet. We're going to try and have the legislative task force work completed before the board's October meeting so that we can get a jump start on policy initiatives because they start early bill filing. I want to say it's in November.
Also, guys, I just put a link in there to the Next Gen registration. If you're interested in being part of the Next Gen group, there's the registration link.
Okay, so Mr. Thomas gets the award for best question today. He's asking which task force has the greatest need. So I'm going to say there are 2 of them, actually. Legislative for sure. Like we want to make sure that if someone has a policy issue that we're aware of it, regardless of whether or not they're serving on the task force. But another one Mark and I really need help with is teacher engagement. And so part of our CTAT strategic plan is to engage teachers more and support them as an organization. And so we've already brainstormed a couple of ideas for adding programming into our current conference during the summer. We've got a plan to really improve that by content area for education and training, law, public service, business, marketing, finance, and tech ed. But that's our regularly scheduled programming. Like we want to know if there's anything additional like regional training or other training that that would be helpful to support your teachers that would be appropriate for us to provide and therefore increase our instructional membership in CTAT. So that's what that task force is for. Thank you, Mr. Thomas, for asking such a brilliant question.
Any other good comments?
This is Susie Mitchell about getting teachers involved. If I know y'all always need presenters at conference, can we have our teachers sign up to be presenters or propose something if they're not members of CTAT?
I'd say absolutely, Robin.
Yes, please.
I was thinking that might be a way to get more teachers involved.
Yes,
yeah, absolutely. I think Mark said the same thing. Yes. And no membership is required in order to present.
You know, and if they're new to the
We'd be
conference,
happy to have them.
Yeah, that might be a way for them to keep coming back. And I know that in talking with some people at the conference, the business teachers are still looking for a home, and we have a plan to really recruit some top-notch business presentations for summer conference, and I think that you're all going to be delighted on what's available in the summer. So yeah, get your teacher prepared now. Miss Mitchell, did you get your question answered about earned versus passed on certification?
Yeah, I guess it just seems like more to keep track of, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
It is, and they gave the example of if a student passes the test but may not meet the citizenship requirements, to be certified, then that's another example Ms. Kilgore gave this morning. And it's sometimes it's just, yeah. So if a student's done all the work, passed the test, but for some reason they never apply for the certification, that's the example.
Can
Yeah.
is
Go
there
ahead.
a way? Is there a way to get a list? Is there a way to get a list of those certifications that they have to apply for on top of passing the test?
Without the list, of course, we won't get the list till the earliest 18th, but I'm going to put that in the Ask TEA.
Perfect.
So that'll be our first question to TEA is, can we get a list of certifications that require something more than passing the test?
How many of them like Adobe or?
Okay, very good.
I do have a question, and I'm sorry. Is it only the earned that will count towards CCMR?
Yes.
Do y'all happen to know the background of that? Like how that came to be?
Well, I think that's, and I can put that in a question to TEA, but I'm 98% sure that that was legislative. That's when they passed all the things that would be components of CCMR, then the wording that was used were students that earned a certification will be considered career ready. And so I think that language comes legislatively, but I will double check that. Does anybody know for sure anything about the language?
Hey, Mark, I don't know exactly about the language. I was going to say, for those of us that have been around a while, if you remember the old program effectiveness report that we had to fill out for Perkins many years ago, that was data that had to be collected at that point. And for those of us that have been around a while, it was always an accountability issue that they want to either come see you and do a visit or something like that. So anyway, just FYI.
No doubt.
Yeah,
It's
that
in
was,
the plan.
Go ahead, Miss Morgan.
so when we used to report it on Perkins, it was basically who didn't pass and who passed. But yeah, the component that I don't mind reporting who didn't pass, because actually we track that anyway, and that's easy to track. But yeah, the differentiation between now what we're saying earned is, I think, I think it's obvious. I think what many people are thinking is that it's going to be very, very difficult to track, especially for the ones that I want to say maybe Farm Tech is one where they're going to take the test. I don't know. Is Farm Tech, does anyone know just off the top of your head, is that one that you have to apply for a license for?
Yes, you do. And you can pass the test prior to being 18, and then at 18, you can make application.
Right. Thank you. So that's good. That's just an example of kind of a big deal for us, because we have all of our students test before school is over. Now they may be turning 18 in July. And granted, we'll make good effort to keep in contact with them, but after they're graduated and on, they care very little about reporting back to us for our accountability purposes. So I think that's going to have just a devastating effect on CCMR. And I don't think that it accurately represents, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm saying something, it's too late or something. I don't know. Maybe that's something for the legislative committee to chew on, because I just feel like that's going to be really tough for CCMR to get that accurate. And I think it's going to throw us off in a bad direction. And for districts and schools that have really good stuff going and they really have prepared their kids and their kids really are going to be successful, we just didn't get that data back after they turned 18, for instance. So it's just my thoughts.
And Dana, you are right, like with pharmacy, but it also affects us with the teacher, educational aid one, EMT, and there's some more because they can't do it until they become 18 and graduate. And like you said, most of the time once they graduate, we don't have, they don't feel obligated to come back and let us know what they've done.
Yeah, exactly. I was just using Form Tech as a quick example, but I'm sure that there's a lot that it would affect. And then I would be curious to drill down if the language is in a legislative wording, then it's like, okay, but what really is earned? Did they really define what that is? And if there is that language somewhere, I would be curious in seeing it.
If you'll open up that link that I just posted in the chat that Miss Hatton sent me, that gives you very specific examples of past versus earned, and that's the best description I've seen of it, and that comes from that's a TEA slide that's in there.
That was presented yesterday at the PAIMS conference for our ESE PAIMS people. So that comes directly from TEA. Les presented that, so I feel pretty confident to go ahead and put that in our presentation.
Thank you, Miss Hatton. That was a perfect document. I'm gonna save that too and send that out.
But other than and I'm sorry, I'm on my phone, so I'm not clicking on the link just yet, but I will later. Does it have the actual legislative, the law language in it, or is it just the interpretation of?
It does not, just the interpretation. And I'd have to go back and look at the exact language myself. So that was, I shouldn't do that, but that was me just guessing on why it was true, on why they did it that way. So I'll go back and double check the language. And I'll put that in a question to TEA.
Mark, I think it also has to do with the language in the Perkins 5 plan that Texas had to create and submit to the feds on what we were using for different criteria. And so when they said earned IBCs was one of those advanced measures, then that pushes you to define earned.
Right, and so it's a language thing, right, Lisa? And it passed all the way down from the feds. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, I think it was Texas created that document and submitted to the feds. That Perkins 5 was the first time ever that the federal government didn't provide the guidance that every state had to follow. They said, we're changing to Perkins 5. Here's what the law is. Each state create a plan, submit it to us for approval. And so TEA created their plan. That was back when Heather Justice was still here, and they created the big plan. And that Perkins 5 plan is always posted on TEA CTE website if anybody's wanting to read through all of what's in there. But that is a piece of kind of what drives how certain things happen, is because of what was put into the plan. And that was there. My other thought is, I think TEA probably that there maybe was always an assumption that you were only reporting students who truly had earned, and that became aware that we were reporting and claiming students who hadn't actually earned it because they didn't follow through and go all the way through holding the credential. An earned credential meant they had made it all the way to the end and actually had the right to the credential, not just they did half of it or a piece of it or whatever it was. And so it may be driven by that.
Thanks, Lisa. And Miss Morgan, I have put that in my question bank for the Ask TEA, and I will send that out to everybody on the Zoom. So thank you for that question too.
Thank you.
And Lisa, you owe $1 in my Elvis cup for referring back to past staff members.
Okay, catch you next.
Okay, any other questions?
This is Susie again. I just want to comment on this whole earned and passed and failed thing again. I know we all have GT teachers. They're fantastic. They know what they're doing, but I just know just when I was always trying to figure out the earned and the failed, sometimes the teachers' spreadsheets didn't exactly equate to what number they said, and it was just a puzzle of trying to put it all together. So now I'm thinking one more column is just going to cause more confusion. Just my opinion.
Maybe EduThings can add in a column too about earned.
Yeah, I'm going to call Sam about this, about EduThings as well, because I've been using it for what, 4 years now.
Oh, wow.
And I think it'll be a simple column he can add, and he can add the measurables and all that we need there. So
Mr. Mackey, I think that may already be in there.
it may already be in there.
Yeah.
Well, he's working on it. If it's not, we brought it to
Yeah.
his attention as soon as TEA made the change, because
Okay.
we purchase EduThings for our SSA members in our region. And as soon as that change happened, the wonderful Miss Chelsea Reeves reached out to Sammy, and Sammy said he was on it. So if it's not there, you can probably anticipate it coming.
Okay.
Well,
Does anyone know if School Links has something in there like this?
Susie, this is Renee from Comal. I don't know, but I will check, because I'm wondering if we're going to have to track the dates of the failures like we track the dates of the, okay. Because that's kind of big, because sometimes we'll have a kid take it 3 or 4 times. Like if all that has to be documented and all those dates.
Now, that's a good point. And their pass date could fall into a different reporting period than their earn date.
I know.
Yeah, it's a
Well, Susie, I know you're in the car, but if you're anywhere near Walgreens or CVS, you better go get that Excedrin.
doubt.
Exactly. I'm just thinking, just more headaches.
Okay. Thank y'all.
no doubt. Miss Smith, you asked for what were you specifically asking for? The earn pass on the TEA. Were you asking?
No, I just sent you a text with the it's like a picture from the lady from TASBO that she put up regarding the earned, pass, and attempted, that maybe it explains a little bit more.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, and we have that slide, right.
Okay.
It requires the state to account for high school students within public schools that have earned it. Oh, and reimbursement only requires passing. Thank you, Ms. Smith. That's a great point. You still get reimbursed if they pass the exam, but on accountability, it only counts if they earn. Thank you, Ms. Smith. That's awesome.
Well, and I guess we'll also find out on August 18th if they're going to have to be completers to get a point for it to count too.
Right. And we did visit with that, and that's all still speculative. And so we will know more August 18th, and when the September roundtable gets here, I'm sure it will be lively.
And we're going to have to cut the recording really early so we can say what we really think, right?
We can get into that slack time quick on the September round.
Exactly. That's my favorite time.
I understand. Okay, and then we had also Miss Murr out at Hazel. Y'all know, wave at everybody, Miss Murr, so they know who you, Miss Murr's so terrific. She wants to know how many districts have committed to a 4-day school week and what weekday will you omit? And did you just adjust your calendar to the minutes or adding days to the calendar? Is there anyone that is moving to a 4-day week? I know in that area, it is a hot topic and schools are doing it to recruit teachers in large part. And I guess also they save on electricity, and Miss Murr's got a great superintendent. So he's forward thinking, being innovative here. Anyone else looking at the 4-day week? 50th year in it. Golly, Miss Murr. Congratulations to you. Miss Murr was assigned in area 2 to keep Mr. McClure and I in line at meetings. She did a great job. Anyone, where'd Weatherford? I know Weatherford was looking at it. Anyone have any comments on the 4-day school week? Anyone currently using a 4-day school week?
Weatherford has not yet. I know we're still talking about it, but nothing yet in Weatherford.
The only one I've heard is Mineral Wells, but all of a sudden it's a hot topic here with our board. So I've been asked to find out if anyone's really seriously thinking about it.
And also, Ms. Murr, I think Athens uses it.
Okay.
But I'll double check that too.
Yeah, Athens is using it. New Summerfield and Timpson are both going to them also 4-day week here in our region.
And
somewhere, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Somewhere a little closer to us, I think Chico went to a 4-day school week as well.
Farmersville in the Region 10 area has done it, I think, 2 years now.
There's quite a few in Region 6 area that especially some 1A and 2A small school districts. And they vary. Some of them have Fridays off, some of them have Mondays off. The school district that's actually a 4A right down the road from us in our own county will be also moving in that direction, but Fridays will be for professional development for teachers, teacher training, and then also to help struggling students as far as those tier 2 and tier 3 students. So that's kind of a hybrid 4-day week. So that's kind of the model they're using.
It says that Chico added 10 minutes to the beginning of the day and 25 minutes to the end of the day. And I think they have Fridays off, if you want somewhere local to connect with.
Yeah, a lot of those schools have already started. They started yesterday as well. So they did move their calendar up.
Training and mail functions.
Most of ours in Region 11 extended the year as well as added minutes. There are, as far as I know, all of them are taking Friday.
I do know that when you talk about it, you still have to have over a 2-week period, 450 minutes to be a V1. And we were looking at Weatherford, I think at conference, Katie, we were sitting there with the calculator and we came up with 56 minutes to be a V1 over an 8-day period to get that 450 minutes in over a 10-day period. It's interesting. Once everybody goes to a 4-day week, then they'll have to go to a 3-day week to recruit. We'll be working like Europeans here before long. 57 minutes. Thanks, Lisa. Mad cow.
There's a lot of people that have chosen to put stuff in the public comment while it's been open about this. And one of the things that would make a big difference for CTE because I know the comments that they have shared was that if they figured it over the minutes over the semester or the minutes over the year, since they added days to the calendar, they would get to it without having to go to a 57-minute class period. But as it reads right now, you're going to have 4 days at 57 minutes to meet that every 2 weeks. Now, if you added 6 or 7 days to the calendar year and that many minutes for a period get averaged in, then people may not have to extend those class periods. But until they make a change to the SAW, to the student attendance accounting handbook, as it stands right now, it has to be the 57 minutes.
Right. Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Meyer. That's good. More districts are going to get involved with that discussion, I know.
And officially lunch period just got knocked down to 8 minutes.
Golly.
Yeah. Well, I think the philosophy here is the first time a large school district does it, then they're going to start looking at it very seriously here. So I will stay up on that conversation. I appreciate all the input you guys gave me.
Well, Mineral Wells and Weatherford are pretty good sized school districts, you know, if they go that way. And it sounded like Mineral Wells was Deanna. Anybody know her last name? Lisa in Mineral Wells.
Hampton.
Deanna what?
Hampton.
Yeah, Hampton. Yeah. So in Mineral Wells, if you want to contact her. All right. Any other topics? Well, again, thank you guys for being here today. And I know that the September roundtable will be lively, and make sure that if you have coordinators and specialists, you get that registration link for next gen. Those turned out to be such great groups, and we just love working with them. We have a reception for them in the summer, and they become pretty good buddies. And they get to meet and they get to work together on presentations. So we appreciate it. Wait, Cynthia Williams has a question. Do you have any more info on about clusters moving from chapter 130 to 127? Well, someone help me here, but as I understand it, as they update the TEKS in the courses, they're moving those courses from chapter 130 to 127 because they ran out of room in chapter 130 for courses. And so they're not moving them until the TEKS are updated. So they move them from 130 to 127, and then they come in and repeal the 130 TEKS. Anyone have a better grasp on it than that? That's pretty elementary.
So that means we'll be getting new PINS numbers as they update the TEKS?
Well, I don't think they're changing a lot of the PIMS numbers unless it's a new course. Mr. Parkinson or Lisa, have y'all dealt with that specifically? The PIMS numbers are pretty much staying the same, correct?
Yeah, as far as I know, the only reason they're doing that, they just didn't have any room in the original slot.
So the courses that began with the 130 numbers that are moving to 127 are still going to have the same PINS number of 130? That's why I'm confused, because I don't know if we're supposed to be doing something or they're just moving without really us having to do anything.
I'm pretty sure the TEA will give you some information in a couple of years.
Yeah. Now, that's of course the service ID codes are all in that CO22 table, and I haven't noticed a change, and I'm going to go back and look at the CO22 table tonight and see if there's been any changes, but I have not noticed any changes in the CO22 table. You're right. It was so simple because if it was a 130, it was in chapter 130. If it was a 127, it was in 127. So it was so simple, but you know how it goes, Ms. Williams.
And has the CO22 table been updated for this year already?
It is. There's a 22, 23 CO22 table on the Texas Web Enabled Data Standards. The TWEEDS. I may have not used the right name, but it's the TWEEDS. Okay. Let's see. Mr. Mackey, did you have a question about the drone program?
Yeah, and so I think a lot of people are, embedding drone curriculum, if you would, into certain areas. They may not be necessarily aligned to a regional program of study, be it aviation or the actual drone program of study. And so obviously you have to have your license to operate, or, the teacher, has to be licensed to educate. What are you guys seeing with regards to, and I may be asking this wrong, to maybe non-CT areas? Let's say you may see someone operating a drone in your school district that's not in CTE, and you say, "Oop, that's not a good thing." Obviously, it's a violation, and it could be a hefty fine, as someone just said there. Does any of you guys' districts, are you guys publicizing anything? Is that anything coming out from communications or anything like that?
We're kind of handling it on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
With CTE, we're also doing some conversions. So for example, I'm converting journalism over into CTE. So broadcast journalism is going to become AV production.
Yes.
And they want to fly drones. They want to get the aerial footage. So we're sending them to get 107 certified. But we do have individuals, one of our campuses, we were contacted by FAA because there was a drone detected. So we went out, researched it, and the issue became, we're under a bond, so we have some construction going on. So there was a construction superintendent flying over our campus, which is near the airport. So we had to start to issue communications that way, just to make sure everyone understood. If you're going to be doing something over one of our campuses, someone needs to know, and then we need to be able to make that determination as to whether you're allowed to use that. Because once the dust settled, the person who was flying the drone for the construction company did not have a license. So our licensed instructor had to go over and take over the flights from that point forward. They got a stipend from the construction company. But yeah, it's becoming a bigger and bigger thing. Our law enforcement courses are looking at use of drone technology. Our architecture students who are going out and internships for these construction companies, same thing. They're wanting to fly the drones. They're wanting to do what they're going to find out in the real world in industry.
Right.
And we can't blame them for that. But we do have a very good drone instructor who is teaching our drone courses, and he is helping to get all of our teachers, the appropriate teachers, certified as we move forward.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. And so I'm kind of doing the same thing here. We're doing that with our AV program. We have an actual industry, broadcast industry guy who's all about it. So I sent him to school, and on our STEM program, we're doing it as well. And so that's good information. Yeah, it's interesting because I'm at pretty much every board meeting. At the last board meeting, WRA was given their drone footage, and the guy said, "Well, we don't have any footage update for this board meeting this month because our license," he actually said it, "our license operator was not present." And I said, And so, okay, thank you for that information.
No, not a problem.
Okay, Lisa, please share.
So a couple of years ago, the drone stuff has been very big here in our region. We're the first to get the drone UAS approved, and there's a lot grouping it. Some of that was driven it was driven very heavily by Bell Helicopter and their drone programs. But we have a man who is a licensed person. His equipment is far beyond what even most of the government agencies are using. And his daughter, who was a middle schooler, knew how to use it. And she was taking pictures of some things and posted them on the school website. And the family was notified by FAA that was up to $100,000 fine because she was not licensed and she was acting as a professional in marketing material footage that was taken with the drone that she was in control of on their school websites, and that it all had to be taken down. So you need to make sure if you are putting footage on any of your websites, or sending it out in links in, s'mores to your people and things like that, that it is being done. If the students are doing it, but they're doing it under the supervision of a teacher that holds the credentials, it's officially the teacher who's the one that is in charge.
Yes.
But if you just have kids doing it, because I know we had a lot of districts that were just having kids before they were certified, they were filming band practices and football practices and things like that so that they could use them. If any of it gets marketed, then that is a violation of a very specific law with a very hefty fine. And FAA did actually reach out and kind of threaten and put the scare into an 8th grade girl locally because of that.
Lisa, thank you for sharing that. I've had the same concerns, and I don't want to be the one. And so, and so that's why I sent my teachers to training, and they've been. I have boxes in my office right now that will not be opened and used until I deem it necessary. And so, thank y'all very much. Appreciate you, Michael and Lisa.
Mr. Mackey, you can do a GoFundMe page for that fine. I'll chip in $1.
I need it, man. I would need it.
Any other comments or questions for the general group? Well, again, thank you all for being here, and don't forget tell your coordinators and your specialists about the Next Gen group if they want to be a part of that. And thank you all for being here and helping each other. This was a great roundtable, and I'm sure next month will be even better. So I'm going to stop the recording now, and we'll stay on for a few minutes for the Slack. Thank you guys very much.